everybody's desk.
Mr. Ruby, how are you? Good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good, good.
Wonderful. Hey, girl.
Hey. Did you see my last?
All right, with it being 3:32, I'd like to call the meeting in order and ask for roll call, please. Here.
Commissioner Bell,
Present.
Commissioner Berube,
Present.
Commissioner Craig is absent, Commissioner Crawford,
Present.
Commissioner Goodness,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly is absent, Commissioner Macon,
Here.
Commissioner Provo,
Here.
Commissioner Segee is absent, Commissioner Templeton,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, our first agenda item, but first I'd like to ask one thing. Staff has asked us to all vote on the motion. So the answer on the roll call will either be yes or no. We sometimes vote we decline or, or not decline. It's easier for them and legally if we just say yes or no to the motion.
Yes, so if the motion is, I make a move to approve, we're voting yes, no to that
approve.
motion. If
If
you do
it's
not
to
agree,
decline, we're voting yes or no to
to the
decline.
decline.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about if you abstain, like if it's,
You would just say,
Family
you would say
abstain.
same thing, I abstain, but to clarify on that, there's been a lot of back and forth with that lately. Abstention is if you have a vested interest in the property, not if you don't have enough information or can't make a decision. At that point, you can request to table the item, but you cannot abstain unless there is a vested interest in the
I
item.
understand.
Thank you.
Okay,
Gotta do the minutes.
yes. First item is approval of the minutes as they were sent to everyone for the regular meeting held on July 15th. So I'd look for any corrections to those minutes or a motion to approve.
I think the agenda says August the 12th.
What'd you say, Teresa? I missed it.
August the 12th was the date of the minutes that were.
I'm sorry, you're correct. It is the minutes of August the 12th, 2024.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written for August the 12th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, that is approved. The minutes are approved. To allow our other two applicants, or two of the applicants to be here, we're going to move to item 3 and take item 3 on our agenda first, which is PZ 2024-296. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness to support a designation for a state historical marker. The applicant is Jennifer Trinbreath, and for those of you that don't know, Jennifer represents the Jefferson County Historical Commission, and the location is 801 Pearl Street. So that is the current location across from here of the library.
Okay. Good afternoon. The Jefferson County Historical Commission is seeking support for an undertold marker application through the Texas Historical Commission. The Undertold Marker Program was established to address historical gaps and promote diversity of topics and proactively document significant unrepresented subjects or undertold series. The application is to highlight the 1943 Beaumont race riots. And to give the most information about the request, I am going to invite Ms. Jen to come up and kind of explain what the race riots were, how they affected Beaumont, and how they've affected history, and why this marker is requested. While on the screen is an image provided by the Beaumont Police Department archives. This is one of the fires that were fought that Ms. Trinbreath will introduce to us.
Okay, before Jen, is there any questions for staff on this item?
Sorry.
All right, if not, Jen, please. Also, please state your name and the address for our minutes, please.
Okay. Jennifer Trinbreath, and my address for the purpose of this meeting is 1149 Pearl. 3rd floor, Beaumont, Texas 77701. That was the address. So in 1943, the city of Beaumont had become a destination for shipbuilders, dock workers, due to the shipbuilding industry growth from World War II. Along with that, there were tensions across the nation. Several race riots had already happened across the nation. The riots in Detroit were quite well known, Atlanta, the Zoot Suit riots in California. War on the home front brought out racial tensions in a way that was very unbecoming to the nation and resulted in a number of, terrible events. The Beaumont race riot is not well known. It's not discussed. It is incredibly significant. Thousands of African American families left after these riots happened. They, no longer felt safe in their homes. Over 100 fires were fought in the 24 hours that the active rioting was happening. Entire businesses, sections of the city were destroyed, homes were destroyed, at least 18 homes that belonged to African American families were burned down. And these were all because of anger from dock workers at an alleged attack on a white woman. Ultimately, the report was found to be untrue. Ultimately, the woman walked it back and said that she had created it as something to give her life excitement. So as our nation moves forward, it's important to remember where we've been. It's important to remember where we need to not return. And the fact that there are not many markers in Jefferson County that address race relations or that address some of the things that led us to the place that we are now is something that we're seeking to, sort of tell this story so that that can be, one more piece of history that is preserved and shared as people go forward and seek to understand where we've come from.
Well, me personally appreciate any time that we can recognize any of the history of Beaumont. This thing being in particular sort of a black eye on us in Beaumont. So I think that it's a wonderful pursuit. I think it represents our community and will be a great addition here in downtown. Any other comments or questions?
I didn't even know about it.
Exactly. I didn't until I was in my 30s. And that's the purpose of the undertold markers in particular. Of course, all Texas markers seek to tell the stories of Texans, but the undertold marker program specifically is to bridge that gap. They have an entirely different application process than their regular program that allows for them to apply different criteria so that these stories that are often not shared, even with those of us who have been here our entire lives, can be told.
And it's called the Undertold, say it again?
Undertold marker program through the Texas Historical Commission. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Didn't know about that.
Yeah, so I have two more slides. Again, this is provided by BPD here. And then this is an existing marker at the library. So you can see what it'll similarly look like. And then we have, I know Jen had a proposed location of here to where they'd be across from each other. And speaking with some other city staff, it may make more aesthetic sense to have it here, like completely across next to the oak tree.
What's the one that's there now?
I'm gonna let Ms. Jen explain it.
Oh, okay.
The one that's there now is Henry Millard. He was the person who originally platted Beaumont.
Okay.
And if I could make a comment, I think this is a very important story to tell, until I saw a film based on this incident that Gordon Williams produced, and I'm glad he's here today. I hope he comes up to speak. I didn't know about the incident either. So most people don't know that this happened, and martial law was declared in Beaumont for 5 days. And no one knows that this happened. So it's an important story to tell. And as Jen was explaining about the Undertold Marker Program, this is also a program at the state where the state actually pays 100% for the markers. And we're always excited when we can get the state to pay for something and we don't have to cost. But this is particularly an important story that all Beaumonters and Texans need to know that happened.
And I would add the significance of that location. We didn't, randomly just choose, but that was actually the location of the police headquarters at the time of the riots. And the riots were around police headquarters, down Forsyth Street, and then sort of across downtown, down Gladys Street. And so this is the ground that was trod during that time.
Wow.
Yes, because the mob surrounded the jail and demanded to I guess, to peruse every prisoner was there looking for the, alleged suspect in the case. And so they surrounded the police station and they also surrounded the county jail, looking for, it was a mob. And so of vigilantes, and the Beaumont police chief and the sheriff at the time really did help stem, some of that violence of them trying to come in, and they could have taken prisoners if they had overwhelmed the police force. But a lot of this research that we've done really is hats off to Gordon, because he's the one that started this research. So I think you would probably like to hear from him too.
Wow.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Williams. I reside at 1810 North Travis, Cleveland, Texas. I work at Lamar University. I am the television studio operations manager. So over 20 plus years ago, I saw a line in a book that said that there were race riots in Detroit, Los Angeles, and Beaumont, Texas in 1943. And that was it. So that led me and a couple of my colleagues that work in the media to start working on a documentary about this subject. People were very reluctant to talk about it, blacks and whites. I recall being kicked out of a person's house once they agreed to speak on the riot, and once we got there and started setting up equipment, they immediately told us to leave. So we understood that this was a sensitive topic still, decades later for a number of people. A couple of years later, in 2012, we decided to take that research and create a historical fiction story about two fathers, a black father and a white father. The white father was a police officer in the riot. The black father, he was trying to take his family away from Beaumont so they could be safe. The two of them meet at a roadblock, and that was the beginning of the example. My colleagues were entering fatherhood at the time, so that notion of fatherhood is apparent. And also, this film is about commonality and understanding. It's available on Amazon Prime. So for $3 or so, you can view this 23-minute film.
And what's the name of the film?
The Example.
Say it again.
The Example. So So this film has been to over 40 film festivals across the world. I've had the opportunity to go to colleges and universities such as Rice, LSU, Central Oklahoma, Lamar, and a number of other regional Texas universities, and share this presentation with this film. Also, the example, and they will talk about a Sir Charlton Pollard story, a documentary about Beaumont's oldest Black neighborhood, is being added to the collection at the Terrell Historical Library. So this is the first time the Black history of Beaumont has been shared in this type medium. So I'm honored to be in front of you, and I hope that you all see the relevance and the importance of having this history out in the public so it won't be lost.
What was the most surprising thing you found in your research for doing the film?
There was a great deal. One of the most important things that stuck out to me was there were white business owners here in downtown Beaumont who protected their Black workers and would not let them go out into the streets. There were also Blacks protecting whites in situations as well. These are the kind of stories that need to be shared and talked about.
Well, for the most part, were the rioters white rioters or were they Black rioters?
They were white. With the alleged rape, it was the daughter of a shipyard worker. So they left Bethlehem Steel and crossed the bridge and came into downtown Beaumont, wanting to ensure their own brand of justice on the alleged assailant. So research says that it was from 2,000 to possibly 4,000, a part of the mob in the streets as young as 12. So
There's also documentation from a couple of things I've read after researching it, that they actually closed all of the highways to block entrance to Beaumont to stop people from coming in and joining the riots.
but also in 2016, when we premiered the film at the Jefferson Theater to an audience of 350 people, to be able to show this film with a diverse group of filmmakers on the same streets where the riot occurred, there was something special about that moment.
Any other questions?
Nope. I just want to say thank you again, Gordon, for bringing the history forward and educating us all on this important topic.
I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Demands in humanity demand.
To finish that report, planning staff is recommending approval of the support of the application. Post your consideration here, the application does go to city council as the request would be placed on city property should the marker get accepted, which I think previously Beaumont has had 2 undertold markers accepted. And I think Kate had said that that's not common, right? So.
2 within the same marker cycle.
Yes, so Jen has an excellent history of getting us these markers. Wanted to make sure y'all were.
Yeah, and since I chair the Jefferson County Historical Commission and this is our application, I'll be abstaining from voting on this item. But I do urge you all to support it.
All right, if there's any discussion,
I make a motion, we approve file PZ 2024-296.
all right, we have a motion and a second that we approve the request for a certificate of appropriateness to support the designation for a state historical marker. We'll ask for a roll call vote.
Chairman LaBiche,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell. Yes. Commissioner Berube,
Yes.
Commissioner Craig,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawford,
Yes.
Commissioner Macon,
Yes.
Commissioner Provo,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do have one question. If this is approved by city council, when would this be erected?
So
And is there
the-
going to be a ceremony of some sort, or?
the request right now is the request for approval because the city manager has to sign the application because it's
Right.
going to be placed on city property. So once we get that received, then Jen submits the application, and then what's that timeline?
The deadline to have it submitted is November 15th, and they will review all of their applications at the state level and vote on them in February. So we'll be notified shortly after that. From that point, it takes a year to a year and a half, sometimes two, because the Historical Commission staff takes the narrative that we submit, which is going to be approximately 10 pages, and they distill it down to the text that fits on a marker. And so there's often a lot of the review process back and forth. They will do it within their own staff, send it to us for review. We might suggest changes, might not, all of which, adds to the time frame. And once it's finally approved, then it's submitted to a foundry for casting. And their workload is large because they cast all the markers for the state of Texas. So, but as to whether or not there will be a ceremony or an event, we always encourage our applicants to mark the occasion once it's installed. And since Gordon and I are co-applicants this time, yes, we would certainly do a ceremony to honor the event that happened. We'll, figure out a way to appropriately honor that as it's going in so that the history can be shared and people can.
Good. Well, I hope it gets approved by the state.
Yes.
Just know, we'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question about that. So is there a chance that the state won't approve it? And if so, I mean, what would be the reason they wouldn't approve it?
The only reason really that undertold markers don't get approved is if another undertold marker elsewhere in the state scores higher, because it is a limited, since the state pays for these, it is a limited pot, to pull from for the funding. And so if they decide that another story is
More compelling?
more compelling to be told at that time, then they could deny it for that reason. But typically that is the only reason.
Reapply.
We can reapply, and the other thing that we can do is we can then take that narrative and we can apply for it during our regular marker cycle. That's the one where it costs money. And so, that we're trying to get it in with the state to pay for it, but if we need to come in and submit it in May for the regular marker cycle, where it's just self-funded, then that's what we would do.
Would it be funded by support if we turn down
Yes.
for money?
I mean, that would be, yes, it could be, support couldn't go directly to the Jefferson County Historical Commission because, but if there were to be a nonprofit that might be, and I suspect there probably are nonprofits that would be willing to partner to act as the fundraiser to collect donations, yes.
How much money are we talking about?
Yeah.
It's $2,400 for a marker and $100 for the application fee, so $2,500.
I think you could probably find that support in this room, so.
But then it has to be cast, correct? That doesn't include the casting?
No, it does, yes. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we need funding,
Okay,
Everybody get the checkbook out.
Thank
thank
you.
you all.
thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Jen will be back next month for 2 additional markers, I believe.
Oh, great.
All right.
Those are just relocations.
Yeah, those are already casted though, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move back to our regular meeting agenda. The next item is PZ 2024-265. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a second driveway. The applicant is KW Reynolds, and the location is 2137 Liberty Avenue.
go again.
Obviously, set her up, though.
Okay.
Really cute.
So KW Reynolds is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to construct a second driveway located at 2137 Liberty Avenue. The proposed drive will be to accommodate the second dwelling unit to allow separation for the parking for the tenants. The drive will be constructed to the side of the structure and will not allow for parking in the front of the structure. The home is listed in the 1989 Spare Beaumont survey, is built circa 1910, and classified as a neoclassical with Queen Anne influences. The recorder noted that the house is structurally sound and well-maintained, and although unsympathetic alterations detract from the architectural details, it was in good condition, and that the significance of this home is listed as the house is a typical example of middle-class homes built in Beaumont in the early decades of the century. Planning staff is recommending approval of the request with the following conditions: that all applicable permits and inspections be obtained through the Building Codes Department. On the screen, you will see the subject property. If you're familiar with this area, you know that this home has recently been very, very renovated. It was on the red tag list and being set for demolition to come before you to be torn down. KW Reynolds has purchased it and restored this beautiful now front facade. So in this image here, you can see the driveway that is to the left. At one point, there was a shared agreement between the original property owners here where they shared that drive. However, now this home on the left is a single family home, and they're not really, with the amount of cars they have, they're not really able to share their driveway anymore. So this tree would have to come down to allow for the second drive on the side of the home. And then this is the site plan, and the area in green is where that drive will be. And then the the pink that you see on there is a wood fence that's going up. However, that complies with all ordinance, so we're just here for the driveway.
All right, I've got a question. We don't prevent parking in the front yard of a,
They can't park in front of a structure in the grass, and they can't pave in front of the structure without coming to you. So first, instead of consistently parking in the grass and getting rode up by our code officer,
no, but we haven't allowed any new parking spaces in front of a house.
no, there is no parking
So-
allowed in a front
And
yard.
this is my point. That driveway only goes to the front of the house. That driveway ought to extend another 20 feet past the front of the house so that when you're parked, you're not parked in front of the house.
So it does, their intent is to match the existing driveway on the opposite side.
Can you go back to the picture? So the tree comes down.
The tree comes down, and then they will pour a concrete drive to match the existing drive on the opposite side.
Oh, I hate to see the tree go.
But I think what Dawn is saying, regardless of tearing the tree down or any business on the other side, on this side where there currently is pavement, they are parking in front of the house because it stops before the house.
So it stops before the house, yes, but it's not directly in front of the house. The applications we've denied in the past were when the pad is actually sitting in front of the structure, never to the side. We've encouraged many applications to scooch over to an opposite side so long as the vehicle is not firmly parked in front of the actual structure.
I think I'm confused because looking at the picture, you see the trees on the left-hand side.
Yes, ma'am.
They're wanting to put the drive where?
So where the tree is, the site plan is,
It is history.
this is the top is the north. So it's flipped from the photos. Unfortunately, we can't take photos the opposite way, yeah. But the intent is to match that existing drive on the other side.
Can we require them to replant the tree?
You can set conditions that you would like. I will say that that tree is actually in the city right-of-way. So they could not replant it inside the right-of-way. They would have to plant it elsewhere.
Well, I went and looked at it, and there's a alley of trees in that area. They're spaced out on both sides of the street. We always hate losing one of them, but I don't know that we have the teeth to tell them they can't take it down.
So we do not have anything in our ordinance that prevents them, and if it was proved to damage the street or say like that, we did visit with our engineering department, and if it was causing damage to the street or the sidewalk, there was a chance that it would come down anyway. Unfortunately, I know we don't love it.
Well, I think the saving grace is that we took a pretty beat-up home, and I went back and looked at historic pictures of the home, and we've got it back looking nice in that neighborhood, and one of the nicer houses right there in that particular area, so.
Can we add any sort of, you can take that tree down, but you have to plant 2 more or something in the center?
Well, I mean, my point in this thing is, why don't you just take the drive-in outside the tree and turn it between the house and the tree and make your parking space?
And that was brought up to do it on the opposite side. I disencourage that because while we could set that stipulation, it would very much create an opportunity for someone to park directly in front of the house.
Okay, I got you.
Because if they don't pull all the way in, and we saw something similar to that earlier this year on Liberty. So instead of creating that opportunity to park in front of the home, it was suggested to move it to the other side, and that's when he reached out to the adjacent property owner to see about an agreement and weren't able to come to one. And hence, this is our last option of the removal of the tree to pour a second drive.
A way to make a curved, you know, a
Yeah.
drive.
Is
They
there
want a
anything,
parking space, not like a curved drive. They want a parking space.
is there anything behind the house that they could make it like a circle park and anything?
So that was brought up, but because it is a duplex, they are wanting
They want their own.
Yeah, if you'll
side.
see, the red line down the middle is to split it so that each resident can have their own privacy in their backyards. I believe these are 3-bedroom units, so they're looking to rent to families and they want people to have their space.
That's the thing that gets me. You got the developer that comes in and does a fantastic job. And then he knows there's probably going to be 4 cars there if it's a 3-bedroom unit each. So that's 4 parking spots, and then he doesn't allocate enough space for his tenants. And now he's asking us to come back and, you know.
So it was always a duplex. He didn't create it into a duplex. It's been a duplex since, I believe, the 60s. And that he again, one of the original requests was to widen that existing spot. It encourages parking in front of the house. We disencouraged that request. Then it came to, he wanted to put a spot in front of the home, again, disencouraged, go arounding the tree. That creates an opportunity to park. So this was the come about opportunity.
I will say that I'm very happy that someone has restored this building from a red tag, and it looks as nice as it does and should be able to last a long time. So I'm very encouraged by that.
Encouraged, but I'm saddened when they remove trees in Old Town.
In the Oaks
In
Historic
the
District.
Oaks Historical.
Right.
As my husband used to say, Oaks Hysterical District.
Historical district.
So is this tree, you mentioned earlier, is this tree scheduled to come down or could?
No, so when visiting with the engineering department, because it is in the right of way, that was one of the questions the developer asked is, will the city take it down? And at this time, it is not adversely impacting anything, but if at such a time came a storm and the tree shifted or anything like that, where it becomes an effect to the street or the sidewalk, the city would have to take it down regardless.
Right now, there's no reason to take it down as far as the city is concerned.
As of right now, no.
Just approve it and
Didn't
tell
we-
the city to plant 2 oak trees in the front.
That's what I say.
Well, that's what she said, that if we replace it, it cannot go in between the sidewalk and the street. It has to go.
It's got to be in the yard.
But it would be the front yard. I mean, everybody has trees in the front yard in the Oaks. And if they didn't, we planted some a few years ago, I remember. Thankful.
All right, any other discussion? If not, I'd ask for a motion, please.
I move that we approve PZ 2024-265 with the city's conditions.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Have was that with the city planting more trees?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, we can't ask the city.
Well, I think
Won't do
you can.
anything we ask
You're a
them.
big old guy.
So what were the city's conditions? So
None.
The only condition is that one that's written at the bottom of the request from the city.
That they pull
All
applicable permits and
and
get.
inspections are obtained through the Building Codes Department.
So we got a pretty building minus a tree, but there you
Yeah.
go.
in the Oaks Historic District,
And the hose.
taking out the oak trees and the.
Okay. Then I'll call for a roll call vote.
Chairman LaBiche,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Berube,
No.
Commissioner Craig,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawford,
No, on the tree.
Commissioner Goodness,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly, I'm sorry, Commissioner Macon,
Yes.
Commissioner Provo,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
No.
All right, I show 7 yeses and 3 nos. Is that what you have?
Sir.
All right, it is approved. Our next item is PZ 2024-266. It is a request for a certificate of appropriateness to install an 8-foot fence. The applicant is Charlie Jones. The address is 2390 Broadway Street.
Charlie Jones, on behalf of Judith Rich, is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to install an 8-foot fence on the property located at 2390 Broadway Street to prevent pedestrian foot traffic from crossing her property. The fence will be 8 feet in height in wood along the interior side yard, and once it reaches the corner front of the home, it will continue forward to the front property line with wrought iron. Section 280318G3CI of the Historical Cultural Landmark Preservation Overlay District states, a fence in an interior side yard must be located no further forward on the lot than the front of the main building. Additionally, section 280318G3B states, within a front yard, no solid fence or wall shall be erected to exceed a height of 4 feet. In no circumstances shall a solid wall or fence located in a front yard exceed a maximum of 6 feet. A fence or wall that is at least 80% open may be erected at a maximum height of 6 feet. The home is not listed in Spare Beaumont survey, and planning staff is recommending approval of the request with the following conditions. Installation of the fence shall not create site obstruction, and all parts of the fence must be installed on private property. On the screen is the view from Broadway. The 8-foot fence the 8-foot wrought iron will go across the front here. And this is the side yard. The complaint is that a number of tenants from the abutting commercial properties across and this side here are taking down this driveway and going out onto 8th Street. So she would like to put up a solid wood fence along the interior side and rear here. And then when she gets to the front of the home, it'll continue forward along the interior side and that wrought iron, and then come across in the wrought iron. The site plan, I apologize, we did this at the counter together. Starting here, wood all the way up to this dot here, where it will become wrought iron, and it'll come to wrought iron over here, all the way down, and then would stop here. She's not as concerned with this side because it does already have access, and she does have another privacy fence here. She just wants to create the stopping of the crossing this way. And unfortunately, she is not here today.
Right, any questions for staff?
So part of it's wooden and the other part is,
The wrought iron that's,
okay, wrought iron? Okay, and the wrought iron's going to be to the front. Can you show me
Yes.
that again?
Front of the house.
so from here at the corner of, this is the front of the house.
Okay.
So it'll stop here
Okay,
at wood and go to wrought iron, and it'll come up to the edge of her property and continue along the front of her property, essentially in front of the home in the wrought iron, which is pretty similar in this area. directly across 8th Street, there's a number of houses that have the 8-foot wrought iron all the way across.
So this isn't on the corner, or it is on the
It is on the corner, yes, ma'am.
corner?
Why does it say they're not supposed to be only 6 feet and these are all 8 feet?
So that's where y'all come in. Anything at 6 feet is our max height that we can approve. Anything over 6 feet has to come to the commission for consideration and has done so in the past.
So we've approved 8 feet for other homes in this area?
Yes, there is actually one immediately across here that is 8 feet for wrought iron, and it goes totally across.
Does he have an objection to a 6-foot fence?
The owner, because that's where he was willing to go to the 6 feet, the contractor that's pulling the permit, and when he went back, she felt that 6 feet wasn't tall enough, that people would jump it, and she does not want people to continue to be on her property. So I told him that the 6 foot I could approve, get him out the door that day with a permit, and he was willing to go for it, went to her, and she said, no, take it back, I want 8 feet.
Is there any ordinances about like where, I'm fine on the driveway side with the wood meeting the wrought iron because you're not seeing it because there's another building to the right of the building. But on the left side, all along 8th Street, then you got another just big wood structure and you're hiding this beautiful home.
So it won't continue. There is an existing fence here already.
Does it go all the way?
It does not come all the way up, but if she blocks off this part, they won't be able to walk through.
But is the other
Or
part
yard.
chain link or what is?
No, it's an existing, I think it's 6-foot wood.
You're saying she's gonna connect it, so it's
She's gonna
clean closed,
she's gonna
which I don't
connect.
blame her, yeah.
She's gonna connect her new fence to the existing fence that stops behind her accessory building. The 8-foot wood will come all the way up her interior property line on the driveway side
That's fine,
to the side of the house. And then once we hit the side of the house here, she'll go to wrought iron.
right.
And then the wrought iron will continue down and across and back over. And then there's another driveway here. It'll stop at the adjacent driveway.
So the wrought iron will stop.
Wrought iron will stop and then there's an
We'll
opening.
see the house.
Yes.
Because it's so, I'd hate for it to be like half.
Yeah,
blocked by
that's
the
what
wood.
I didn't understand on
Yeah, I
the
thought-
8th side.
I know, and the drawing, like I said, if you can tell it's my handwriting, but there was a lot of discussion about what's allowed and what's not allowed and how it could be. So they're very aware of the rules and that's why they're changing it to that wrought iron at that point.
And so the wood that's already existing starts,
It starts on the opposite side
past
of
the
the drive,
driveway?
yeah.
Okay, so you see the beautiful house.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
A question, who jumps a 6-foot fence?
I don't know. But that is like I said, the contractor left that day with a permit to build a 6-foot fence and he came back not 2 hours later and said she doesn't want 6 feet, she said 8. Because people will jump it is what.
There are a lot of old, in our neighborhood, houses that have kind of the same thing, the fence on the sides, but you can still see the house. Believe it or not,
She's wanting 8 in both the wood and the iron?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But if we've approved it for other people, we don't have an option, do we? We do, but
So you've set a precedent in the past, but every case is unique and every case goes by case. So,
I don't have a problem with the 8 feet versus 6 feet. 8 feet's fine. I just didn't want wood all along 8th Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I was gonna suggest not wood all along 8th Street.
yeah, and to clear that, I don't think that was ever their intent. They have an existing fence that starts over here that continues and they're just gonna tie in the new around it.
Can you go back to the picture? So where's 8th Street?
8th Street is on the left side of this porch here.
Here you go, here's a overhead view of that house that shows the street.
Yeah, and directly across 8th Street is the 8-foot wrought iron that wraps around, I believe, 3 or 4 houses continuously.
And so where this,
That'll be wrought iron, wrought iron, wrought iron to here, then wood all the way back. The existing, some of the wood in the back, and then wood to that driveway.
oh, okay. So this is the front? That's the
This
front?
is the front.
Front right here, okay. So it's facing Broadway, is the?
Yes.
Yes.
I was thinking they wanted.
And the reason we showed these images this way is because our ordinance specifically relates to the front of the structure for everything. So that's why there's not side imagery. It's strictly related to the front.
Okay, can you put that one back up while I have this? Not that one, this one, yeah, thank you.
So
This
here's
is
that
8.
driveway. This driveway you see is right
Okay,
here.
okay.
So this will be wood, 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 wrought iron, wrought iron, wrought iron.
Okay,
It's almost like this, not to scale, but.
okay, thank you, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote, a motion, please.
Make a motion that we, accept, I don't have the number. What is the? 266. 366 and
266.
I'm blind, as outlined in our report.
I'll second it.
What was the motion?
To
That
approve,
I don't have a copy of the, when did,
to approve with the conditions, Ms. Craig?
I'm sorry.
To approve with the conditions of staff?
Yes,
And just one more quick question. What does not create a site obstruction mean?
So because it is a corner lot, anytime there's a fence erected on a corner lot, we get with engineering to make sure that the placement on private property, if someone stopped at that stop sign on 8th Street and or turning
They'd
off
be
of
able to
Broadway
see.
Street, we want to make sure that fence doesn't create a hazard for traffic.
Okay, thank you.
right by my house and see why I hadn't put up a fence.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Chairman LaBeouf,
Yes.
Commissioner Bayless, Commissioner Berube,
I want to be clear. The motion is for the 6 foot or for the 8 foot?
It's a approval of this request
So it would be the 8
as
feet,
it's written.
8 feet with the conditions of staff.
No.
Commissioner Craig,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawford,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodness,
Yes.
Commissioner Macon,
Yes.
Commissioner Provo,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's 9-1. Is that correct? All right, that motion is approved. We'll now move into our Historic District Code Enforcement Report.
Okay. I have the previous report for the last month. We have 9 city compliance inspections. We have 1 new general nuisance complaint, 1 general nuisance reinspection, 5 historic district violations, 2 historic district re-inspections, 5 junk motor vehicle notifications, 4 junk motor vehicle re-inspections, 1 junk motor vehicle tagged, 1 junk motor vehicle removed by city staff, 4 new litter violations, 6 new litter re-inspections, 23 additional city compliance inspections for cutting grass, 2 property owner inspections where they mowed the grass after notification from city, 5 new weed violations, 31 weed re-inspections, and 2 zoning violations with 2 zoning re-inspections, adding for a total of 109 inspections completed by staff.
Busy.
Always busy. Any other questions on the Historic District Code Enforcement Report? If not, we'll adjourn our meeting. Thank you all for being here and I appreciate staff's work. Thank you.
Thank you.